You're born either a boy or a girl, right? That's why jokes about girls with penises are so fucking funny. Because boys are boys and girls are girls. And everyone knows. It's just that simple everywhere in the world. But it's not at all. Gender, as we have known for the last 300 years in the US at least, is a white Western construct that we have forced on the world and is an integral part of the genocide we have committed to start and maintain an eternal occupation of this continent. Two-spirit, which is a far more complex gender, sexuality, and spiritual identity than I could comprehend, was and is an important part of many indigenous peoples who lived here for thousands of years, even before my Viking ancestors first reached Newfoundland. The idea that the binary gender system is universal and is just outside of our colonial borders, which, in case you were wondering, are still expanding. We just call it by a different name, and it makes us feel a whole lot better about our neoclassical death grip on the planet. Sorry. Which I reap the benefits of, no matter how I feel about it. I, even though I'm a trans woman, not even a femme one at that, because I am white, combined with the fact that I live in small communities most of the time, have never been harassed on the street specifically for being trans, even though I literally wear it sewn onto me in my jean jacket, which I wear every day to the store, to dressing rooms, into the bathroom. My point is, before I start, is that people of color do not benefit to the same magnitude that white people do from cis privilege. And that is really important. When I was 8 or 9 years old, my dad brought home 2 films, Miss Doubtfire and Tootsie. If you haven't seen either of them, they're movies about old white guys who dress up like old women to see their children or to get in a film or something. I don't remember, because I was too scared to sit through the first 15 minutes of Tootsie. And this isn't because it is wrong, although I cannot say I endorse them. My fear was empathetic. Even before I knew I was trans, I understood our cultural distaste of people perceived as male, dressing in drag, or as a woman, and the assumption that it is always a form of trickery. It was as though I was seeing the risk I would face in the future and couldn't bear to accept the truth of my gender, understanding what it would mean for my life and my safety. From a young age, gender confused me. I didn't understand why boys weren't supposed to cry. I didn't understand why boys versus girl games in gym class just didn't make any goddamn sense at all. And I especially didn't understand why I didn't feel like a boy. Technically, it probably has to do with the amount of gray matter in my frontal cortex, but that's about all we know. A person's sex at birth is determined by the size of their clitoris. Small, you're a girl. Big, you're a boy. And if you're in between, have genitals that don't fit the size and shape designations, someone will take a wild guess and might put you through a non-medically necessary surgery without your consent. Our designated gender is meant to determine how we act, who we talk to, how we dress, whether we are hopelessly romantic or logically always trying to find a way to get laid. As a society, we have gone to great lengths to say that without any evidence, men are better than women. In the end, though, there's no reason besides a socialized trend that our genitals and bodies have anything to do with gender. Gender is constructed for the purpose of control and oppression. It is not inherent, nor is it in any way fixed or constrained with the male-female, masculine-feminine spectrums, though we do a damn good job of even convincing trannies like myself that the binary is our only option. When I first came out to myself 6 years ago, I started to think, I want to be that boy who isn't a boy. I did not understand that that was actually a thing in the world. I was very confused. Later I would say I wanted to be a tomboy or somehow pass as a butch lesbian, even though dressing masculine on this body with this face doesn't pass as anything but a cis boy. If only there was a way to express to strangers that she is not a boy. Pronouns. I didn't really know that they were a thing until I got here. Pronouns are incredibly important and personal. In a system designed to invalidate and suppress trans identities at every turn, pronouns can be the only way people who don't fit into traditional boxes of gender can express that. We assume that people are boys or girls and that being one of those means you present a certain way and were born with a certain set of genitals. I am 100% natural born boy. I was designated male at birth. I don't always dress femme, even though I hate dressing traditionally masculine unless I pass off as androgynous or so queer that not even the straightest person could make a reasonable guess. But really, it's quite complex. I have recently started to consider using these and zir pronouns alongside she/her pronouns, so that even if people are not using them, there is some way to communicate that I'm a girl, but it's not simple like that at all. And no strangers, I'm not going to get into this at the bus stop, in the store. No. Pronouns are a way to communicate something about our gender that is hard to explain. Because pronouns don't say anything about whether we identify as male, female, non-binary, genderqueer, agender, gender fluid, gender fuck, or any other gender, or lack thereof. But it communicates something a little deeper. It's a way that people can make us feel safer. It's a way of saying, do this and I will be less terrified to be who I am in your presence, less scared to walk out my door and say how I feel. Pronouns are a part of us. Many trans people spend a long time thinking about their pronouns, trying out different sets, seeing what feels good. It's very similar to the search for your right name. I spent countless hours trying out different names, trying to figure out what felt right, because I knew that I was going to have a really hard time contesting my birth name, Anka. But it got me misgendered. And Zoe felt correct, as though it had always been my name. Just like she, her, and these and their pronouns felt like they had always been my pronouns. Not that I knew. We're going to rewind a sec. Back to where I said I didn't feel like a boy, but I didn't explain how, and where even I had been convinced it's sexist bullshit. I know that I said that gender and genitalia have nothing to do with each other, but it's not entirely true. More correctly, there's no correlation. Male does not mean penis, female does not mean vagina. But my body and my gender interact with each other in really important ways. My body does not match my mind. How I feel, the body my brain feels it has, does not match the body that I do have. This is a manifestation of my gender dysphoria, a mental and emotional disconnect from the parts of my body that I was never meant to have. I treat it through hormone therapy, and hopefully other medical procedures in the future, which frankly is the reason I'm standing here before you still breathing. Gender dysphoria is hell. It can come from arbitrary gendering of things like body parts, shapes, tampons, the little feminine symbol on the disposal cans in the bathrooms, like why, and orgasms. Let's not talk about male or female orgasms. Hi, this is Jackie, my female orgasm. She is 5 feet tall, just adorable, and she met a male orgasm the other day, and I think they bonded. No. Stop. I have neither, and it's not because of my recently realized status as a gray asexual. It's because my orgasm, your orgasm, they don't have a gender. I didn't have a female but kind of also male orgasm last time I had sex. If anything, mine are more classified by the fear and triggers they recall than whether it is male or female. Sex and my body are associated with a gender performance that isn't mine, which is why I feel it is necessary to tell you that I really just don't do the sex thing now that it is an option. Because every time I look at myself in the mirror, I see a boy, not my fault. Even though I am a woman. When people associate body parts, shapes, or the way we moan or arch our backs in bed with binary genders, it implies that my gender is invalid or incorrect, and quite frankly, it turns us all into walking sex objects. Are women defined as just a combination of a high-end fleshlight and high-definition point of view porn to people? Is this a thing? That's misogyny, and making jokes about women who used to look like men or look like men, etc., that's trans-misogyny. And I promise that word wasn't made up on Tumblr. Queer theory, trans-feminism, predate the internet. We were just never taught about it, so it feels new and radical. Which unfortunately, my backpack, Trans Ladies First, is just that to many people. Sometimes pronouns, when the proper ones are actually used, are the only thing convincing me that anyone else sees me as anything other than a boy with boobs, that I am more than a social justice nuisance, whose rights and well-being gets in the way of everyday life and forces unreasonable effort that compromises the comfort of others' privileges.